Here's how to get yourself set up for the take-home final exam. So head on over to Canvas and to the assignments page, and at the very bottom you'll click on the take-home final. So the rules of the exam, just as a reminder, no collaboration with anyone, either in person, online, with message boards, text, GroupMe, etc. You can ask me for clarifications on questions, but if it is along the lines of asking why some code won't work, then don't really expect a response there. I'm only going to ask or respond to questions asking for clarification. So first thing, even before you generate your exam, is to make sure that we have Caret up and running. So one thing we discovered is that different versions of Caret can potentially give out different numbers. So we want to make sure, even if we think we have the most recent version of Caret installed, to uninstall the current versions and to reinstall the ones that CRAN currently have up there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight these 4 lines of code and paste them into the console in RStudio. So that's going to remove both the Caret and Caret Ensemble packages and reinstall those 2 packages from CRAN. Most likely you'll get a little window that says, hey, do you want to restart R prior to installing? I'll go ahead and click yes as many times as it needs. But once I've done that, then I will have guaranteed that I have the most recent version of these 2 packages that are installed. Now, how am I going to check that? You can head over to the Packages tab here, where the plots normally are, scroll down to where you see Caret, and you should see a 6.0-77, and the same thing for the Caret Ensemble. Let me make sure that I get that installed. You should see version 2.0.0. So when you see both of that's the case, then you should be good to go. Even if you open it up right now and you see these 2 version numbers, it's still a good idea to uninstall those packages and to reinstall them just to make sure. Alright, once Caret's set up, you're going to want to go and get the BAS 474 takefinal.rdata environment file. So you'll click on the link, and what that will do is it'll put that data file in your downloads folder. Now you're going to want to move this into your BAS 474 folder. I'm just going to copy this and then move on over to the folder that I've designed for this assignment. In this case, I'm just going to call it the final exam demo, and I'm going to paste that there. Alright, so once we've done that, we're going to head back to RStudio. We're going to clear out the current working environment by clicking on the brush icon here. You'll see everything go away. And what you'll do is you'll go into Session, Load Workspace, and then navigate to where that file you just downloaded, your BAS 474 folder. So I put that in the Final Exam Demo folder for me. I'm going to click it, I'm going to load it up. It'll try to load on some libraries, which you should have. If you do get an error, you'll want to do install.packages, whatever package it's referencing that it doesn't have. And you'll find 2 objects in the environment. You'll find the MakeMyExam function, which we'll use shortly, and then super, which is the large transactional object, which is going to be used by the MakeMyExam function to generate some new data sets. This will disappear once you're ready to take the exam, actually. So once we have that, we want to make sure that we're going to be working in the directory that we want to be working in. So what you're going to do is go into Session and set the working directory to wherever you had put that R data file. So for me, that was in the Final Exam Demo, right here, and I'll verify that the path is leading it to the folder that had that .r data file. Alright, once I'm there, I'm going to run the MakeMyExam function down in the console window, and I'm going to use as the argument my student ID. So once you've done that, it'll load in a whole bunch of additional packages that you're going to need for the exam. Packages that you should already have installed, and it should load up just fine. If it does, give you an error message that says, hey, I don't have this package, just do install.packages it. And at the very bottom, once that function is run, you have a few additional comments. So number 1, make sure that the student ID that the exam has been generated for is actually your student ID. The answer key is going to be based on what your student ID actually is and not the number you put here, so make sure that those 2 things match up. Number 2, after you've run this function, it will have generated your exam file, some RMD file, and what you're going to want to immediately do is to find that file and rename it into something else. That's because if you ever rerun Make My Exam, then it's going to overwrite the RMD file named after your student ID. All right, so in this case, my folder that's containing all this information is this final exam demo. Here's the RMD file that's been generated. Note that my student ID appears right after the word exam. And so I'm almost ready to start working. What I need to do is just rename this file into something like myexam.rmd. That part doesn't matter. And open it up. So it's the take-home final. This is the date on which I'm assigning it. And make sure you don't change this very first chunk, and just make sure you follow the rest of the instructions carefully. So the first thing you should do after you open up this file is to just click on Knit to make sure that everything is set up, at least in the background, appropriately. So before you've entered any sort of code, you should be able to generate some sort of file. All right, now you're ready to get to work. Make sure you follow the instructions carefully. Make sure you're mindful on your use of set seed 474 so that we get all the same answers. Once you are done with the exam, all your code is in the appropriate R chunks. Make sure you save your RMD file. Click Knit one last time to verify that every single line of code is able to compile, and then go back to Canvas and upload that RMD file that contains all of your work. The way that it will be graded is I'll extract out all the R commands that are in that RMD file, run them, and then check your answers that those lines of code produce with the answer key.